All right, thank you for joining us this afternoon. Meet Heather Gray, a functional diagnostic nutritionist and bioenergetic practitioner specializing in supporting clients with chronic and complex illness, such as Lyme disease, mold toxicity, and autoimmune diseases. With over 32 years of personal experience, she understands the struggles of living with these conditions and is dedicated to helping others find relief. Her personalized approach as a practitioner, podcast host, and author has helped countless clients reduce inflammation in the body and brain, improve gut health, and achieve optimal wellness. She helps her clients get to the root cause of their symptoms and helps them take control of their health journey. Heather's approach is not only effective, but also empowering. Heather's great tagline here is "Don't let chronic illness control your life. You can achieve the health and vitality you deserve." All right, Heather, over to you.
Hey there, thank you. Yes, I have to first off apologize. I'm still kind of in my jammies a little bit because being a practitioner, especially in the chronic health world, we're so behind in the medical industry, right? That there's always something cutting edge new. And I actually took a new bioenergetic course this morning. I have a new bioenergetic machine. And if anybody's played with those things, they are so complex. And so I've been in class all morning and I completely lost track of time. And so, yeah, I'm not typically how I look. So I apologize for that, but I appreciate you all being here today. But like she said, my story started off with me basically being born full of shit. How many of you have been constipated, at a very early age? My feet, when I was sitting on the potty, would fall asleep because I was sitting there for so long. And that kind of began the my expertise or my examples of throwing band-aids at symptoms, right? Because the doctors were just putting thick, nasty oils down my throat and giving me stool softeners. They weren't trying to figure out why this 4-year-old was constipated. It turns out my uncle had committed suicide that year, and that kind of struck off that childhood trauma, which kicked in my celiac disease. And I was also eating the SAD diet, right? The standard American diet. So it made me a really great host for that. When I was 13 living in Missouri, I picked up a tick and picked up Lyme disease. I didn't get symptoms till about 2 years later when I had my first suicide attempt and ended up in the psych ward. I've had 2 or 3 since then. Chronic widespread pain, digestive issues, brain inflammation, joint pain, 3 autoimmune diseases, heavy metal toxicities, cavitations, parasites, all the things like the rest of us have, right? And it wasn't until probably I was 34 years old, my kid was 9, and I was struggling again. And I had a practitioner friend of mine say, "You need to go check out this nurse practitioner in Denver." And I had already been like 30 different practitioners, and I kind of rolled my eyes, but what choice did I have? So I picked myself up, drove to Denver, saw this person. She had the coolest accent. I can't remember where she was from, but within 5 minutes of talking with her, she goes, "I know exactly what's wrong with you." And I'm thinking to myself, bullshit. There's no way. And she asked if I'd ever been bit by a tick. I said, "Yeah, when I was 13. Why?" And she's like, "I think you have Lyme disease." And so, fast forward, I went the traditional route to begin with, antibiotics. I thought they were going to kill me because, and then that's when I became a functional practitioner, because I learned the hard way, like a lot of us, right? A lot of practitioners like to focus on treatment. And that's one of my big talks that I like to tell all across the world, is that you can't focus on treatment. When you throw napalm at a body, right, that's been sick for decades, and they're not pooping, they're not peeing, they're not detoxing. They didn't ask me what my stress level was like. They didn't ask me if I was sleeping, which I wasn't. All these things that need to be in place before you start going to war with a body that's been sick for decades. And so that's when I went back to school, became a functional practitioner. It's funny, thought we had all the answers then, but then that was just, the beginning piece of the puzzle, like a lot of us know. I also found out I was living in mold. I had cavitations from when they took out my wisdom teeth when I was 13. So I had chronic infection going on in my jaw bones that I had to get cleaned out. There's 3 barriers to health that when I work with folks, that's the 3 things that we need to find out that you're dealing with before we actually start working in on the Lyme and the lifestyle stuff. And one of them is mold, one of them is cavitations, and the other one is sleep apnea, right? Because if you're not getting enough oxygen at night when you sleep, all the best treatment in the world's not going to work as well. Same thing when you have a cavitation or mold. If your troops are scattered, right, you're not going to be able to fight off a lot of these other infections like Lyme and COVID and some of the bigger bad stuff that comes down the pike. So really had to clean all that stuff up. And then since then, you know, I've been able to reverse 2 out of 3 of my autoimmune diseases, put Lyme in remission for the past 3 years, detox the mold, no more suicidal thoughts, you know, and I don't have flares. You know, when I get the cold, I get a cold. When I got COVID, I just got COVID. When I got the flu, I just got the flu. And then I got over it. So, you know, I try to teach people the FDN way, which is diet, rest, exercise, stress reduction, and supplementation. So really dialing in those lifestyle pieces. I have a cooking series. And then the last little piece over the past couple of years was the brain retraining stuff, because especially if you've got mold is insidious for turning on the alarm bells, the smoke alarm bells in your body. And even if you get out of mold, nobody shut the alarm off. So they're still going off. They're still putting you in fight or flight, right? Like you're running away from a tiger. And if we know anything about from fight or flight, it's not rest and digest, right? It's the wrong side of our autonomic nervous system. And we need to be in rest and digest in order to heal. And so that was the last little piece that I was really missing in order to get better. That and, you know, working on a lot of the emotional trauma stuff, because that's usually what gets stuck in the nervous system and causes this imbalance is, you know, they call it big T or little t. You know, is it toxins? Is it mold? Is it mental emotional stuff? Is it early childhood trauma? You know, and for me, it was a combination of them all. And I kept relapsing like every 6 months to a year until I dialed in those brain retraining pieces. And it's beautiful because there's so many cool techniques out there. There's so many people talking about this stuff now, from somatic work to breath work to bioenergetic work to tapping. I mean, the list goes on and on. You got DRNS, you got Gupta. I think there's a new system out called Primal, I believe. But there's just so much more awareness around the nervous system and this and how it plays into chronic illness and you know who gets better and who doesn't. And that's, you know, that's why I do what I do. And that's why I was in class all morning and lost track of time, because there's so many pieces that really need to be put in place. And it's sad because Lyme clients are so much more sophisticated than any other clients out there, because we've had to be. We've had to be our own health advocate, because for the longest time we were being gaslit. Nobody had answers. I mean, hell, the CDC just, you know, recognized the disease that I've had for the past 30 some years is legit. So I've had to you know, really dive in deep and get all these different pieces in this puzzle together, so that way I could be a full, you know, practitioner for somebody, so that they can heal from all levels, right? Mental, emotional, spiritual, physical, bioenergetic. And it's funny because the longest time the medical model seemed to be the only one, and then we had functional medicine come in saying we have the root cause, and then now we've got the bioenergetic stuff. You know, we all know we can measure. We're electromagnetic beings, right? Our heart has its own electromagnetic field. The brain has its own electromagnetic field. We can measure these things with an EKG, an EEG. And if they're not talking to each other properly, if they're not in, oh man, what's the word I'm looking for? Oh, it's like heart math. Da, 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 da. I'll come back to it. It starts with the C. But if they're not in sync with each other, right? Coherence. If they're not in coherence, they're not going to be working properly. And so many things can put out our bioenergetic field, you know, like EMFs and toxins and in, you know, thoughts of I'm stupid, I'm dumb, I don't deserve this. Like so many things can affect that too. So where if we don't address that, like I said, even like the best supplements, the best protocol, the best food, you're only going to get so far. And so I found a lot of times with people dialing in those mental, emotional detox really, really helps get a person over that hump, you know, because so many folks were getting stuck, especially, you know, if they're just focusing on treatment. And so, like I said, those are the kind of the biggest takeaways that I have for people. And when I do big talks, it's, not focusing on treatment and how these other outside ancillary type supportive treatments actually really help get a person over the line. So that's, kind of me in a nutshell. Um, what did you guys want to dive deeper on today? I was kind of just leaving it open. If anybody's got any suggestions.
Anybody have any specific questions for Heather or anything that you'd like to learn more about or hear more about?
Yeah, I guess thank you so much, Heather. I wish there were more people here because I was reading up on your background and I know you have so much to offer and it's hard to get the word out to people on so many things. I guess I would be curious more about the brain retraining and then mold. I saw you have a podcast about if you're accidentally, I mean, it feels impossible to not be exposed to mold. And it's both my daughter and I, by the way. She's just turned 29 yesterday, and she's literally been sick for 10 years. And you know, like many things in life, sometimes while you're helping somebody else, you help yourself. So then I realized I had babesia and anyway. But anyway, she seems to be more sensitive to mold, and it's really just almost like creating its own trauma for her because she's afraid to go anywhere. And here she's trying to get some of her life back because the percentage of her young adult life has been just hell. And so she'll go be with friends and then she'll have a mold hit from that. And so, what maybe a little about what you recommend for being able to try to live a normal life and know that what 80% of the buildings in our country have some kind of mold growing, people just aren't aware. Just a slight water leak can cause anything. That and then the brain retraining. I've read up on Annie Hopper's stuff and Gupta I've looked at, but my daughter refuses to do it, and I really think it would help her. I think where she's at is she feels like for the last 10 years we've tried so many things, and she's just burnt out, and I can't get her to consider it. So any thoughts around that? So those are two things that I am passionate about right now.
Absolutely. Those are great questions. So, and it is tough, like so many of us, and that's part of what I say out there is to not lose hope. It's one thing to take a step back and take a break, but you can't stop. Like what is your
Yeah,
option, right? Like it's not going to get better on
right.
its own. You have to keep moving forward. And yeah, it sucked. Like I probably saw over 30 different practitioners. Like I said, I was sick for over 20
Mhm.
some years before I dialed it on, but I couldn't give up, right? So,
Yeah,
because you never know, that last person could be the one that helps put all
yeah.
your puzzle pieces in order. Because if she's done so many things, I imagine she's got some great puzzle pieces, but I have a feeling maybe one or two is out of order, or maybe she's just missing a little corner piece, right? And that's what I'm really great at
Mhm.
is actually seeing the patterns of what people
Mhm.
have already done and then filling in the
Mhm.
gaps. Because sometimes people just need a little tweaking, but the brain retraining stuff, so that's what it takes is because so this last year I
Mhm.
went to 6 different health conferences from the East Coast to the West Coast. And believe it or not, it was in Arizona where I got the most mold. Because if you think about it,
Mm.
they're
Yeah,
running their AC units 24/7 and they're leaking. And so here I'm at
yeah.
these health conferences being inundated with mold. And I was like, oh shit, here we go. So
Mhm.
the brain retraining stuff is absolutely foundational. It's key. And the beautiful part about it is there's so many different types out there. I can understand why a person gets a little hesitant of wanting to do Gupta or DRNS because it's a lot of commitment and it's commitment for a long time. I ended up doing somatic experiencing work with Dr. Amy Apigian, and I actually teach quite a bit of that in my course.
Okay.
And it's stupid. I'm going to show you guys a few little techniques right now,
Okay.
but people dismiss them because they literally take 30 to 40 seconds to do, and they're simple, right? They don't cost a lot of money. They're free and they're simple, but you have to do them multiple times a day, so you have to remember to do them so that way you can start to work on your nervous system. So that way, when you do get into stress, right, you remember your tools and you can use them. So many people, they don't put into practice. And then when they get into trouble, they're like, oh shit, what am I supposed to do? And now their brain's inflamed and they can't They can't pull out their tools. And so I'll teach you a few. So one of my favorites is called the VU and the push away, and I like to put them together. And so the VU is just like it sounds. It's kind of like chanting or om, but it's stimulating or gargling, singing, humming. All of those stimulate the vagus nerve, right? And the vagus nerve is what helps calm down that nervous system, get us out of fight or flight and into rest and digest. And then when you combine it with the push away, a lot of us that have been chronically sick have a tendency to be also very empathic, right? So we feel a lot of people's energy and it just gets stuck right here. I was the same. And so it helps to actually push out that energetic bubble as you're doing the VU. And every single time I do it, so it was funny. My husband actually saw me doing this at the grocery store last night because I have a tough time at the grocery store for some reason. I love people. I struggle at the grocery store for some reason. And so I don't want to show up as that snarky, reactive person because I'm a loving, caring, funny, fun person. And so he saw me get a little triggered right off the bat. And then he saw me stand there in the middle of the grocery store and do this twice. And then it was a completely different experience. So we're going to start off. You're going to have your hands up here next to your shoulders, and you're going to actually act like you're pushing away a boulder, like pretend there's something really heavy in front of you, right? And you're going to go slow. At the same time, we're going to take a deep breath in, and we're going to do a VU as we push out slowly. So if you want to watch, we'll do it a couple times. Take a deep breath in through the nose, out through the mouth. Oh, you guys are supposed to be doing it with me. Nice and slow. The slower, the better for your nervous system. And then you can also like do it out to the side. You can do it to the top. You can do it below you. See,
And Heather, you're not thinking of anything in particular while you're doing that.
just
Okay.
VU, just focusing on your breath and pushing out that energy. VU.
So if I can add something regarding grocery stores and why people struggle so much, is there is a ton of mold in grocery stores, and then the EMFs from the lights. So
And
it's
the lights, and yeah, there's a lot. But yeah, so, and like I said, those of us that are more sensitive, it's definitely great to ground yourself and knowing that before you walk in. Because I never ever want to be, for lack of a better word, I hate what they did to this. Never mind, I'm not gonna say it because we actually have a Karen on the call, and I don't want to do that to your name. But yeah, it's sad, and that's not who I am. And so when I'm finding myself getting triggered, but I did this with Dr. Amy Apikian in like a couple different exercises she's had like a 21-day, course. And so I did it for 21 days. And by the end of that 21 days, my nervous system was completely changed. I was the person where when my husband walked up the stairs, and if my back was towards him, I would, and that's not a normal reaction. That kind of a startle reaction, that means you are stuck in fight or flight, right? And it made him feel horrible because then he knew it would make my adrenaline pulse through me, which then felt like poison. I just felt sick afterwards. So it was this whole thing. And then another one is, so when you're actually sitting at your desk, I know it sounds goofy, but taking a second to look down below the desk, look behind you, right? Look above you. Because you're telling your nervous system, again, there's no tiger behind me. There's no monster underneath my desk, right? What was another one? My gosh. Oh, the hug one. That one's one of my favorites too, right? Especially if those of, back when I was single and didn't get a lot of human contact. It was a way to give it to myself without needing others. And then also it really great about bringing your nervous system down. So it's just like it sounds, and play with it. Does your right hand over your left hand feel better? Or does your left hand over your right hand feel better? This way feels better. And so always just checking with your body. And then I used to lay my head down, actually on my shoulder, and close my eyes. And sometimes your body might start to rock back and forth. Take a deep breath. But you want to stay in that for at least 35, 40 seconds. Just being aware of your breath. Just being with you. No thoughts. Just focusing on your breath and what sensations you're feeling in your body. Oh, yeah, you come out of it. A lot of times you'll sigh or you'll yawn. Oh, I just heard my stomach gurgle, which is actually a good sign too. It means that you've shifted out of fight or flight and into rest and digest. A lot of us that have been verklempt for so long, right? The digestion shut off. And so then when you get that out, you'll hear a gurgle, gurgle. It's like, oh, hi, digestion. Another one of my favorites is getting your energy nice and good in your palms, and then you rest them on your eye sockets. So sometimes you have to put your elbows down, to help support your head. But especially those of us that are staring at screens all day, when you put pressure on the ocular nerve like that, it actually tells the nervous system, it tells the vagus nerve to calm down. And so it's amazing. So again, I teach like 5 or 6 in my course. If you pick 3 of your favorite and you do them every day, so in the beginning, I had to start off by setting alarms. Usually it was before I ate, because again, right, you want to get out of fight or flight and into rest and digest. So what a better way to practice these is right before you eat, because how many of us have issues with our digestion? So if you can get out of that fight or flight and into rest and digest, and the other one of my favorite is the box breathing, right? So I'll box breathe and I'll do like a boo and a push away before I eat a couple times a day. It's amazing. So the box breathing, if you guys don't know what it is, it's in for 4, hold for 4, you breathe out for 4, and hold for 4. And that hold on the top and the bottom are actually more important than the inhale and the exhale. That's actually what tells your nervous system to calm down. There's no longer a tiger chasing me. You can relax. And then once you get a little bit more bandwidth, once you've practiced it, try a 6 count, then try an 8 count, because really the longer you can hold, the better that gets as you get a little bit more experienced, right? But I usually don't tell people to start off with that, because if it feels like that you are air hunger, right, it can cause a whole nother reaction that we're trying to stay away from. So start off like supplements, like any other protocol with us Lymies, right? Start off low and slow. So start off with the 4. So in for 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, hold for 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, out for 4, 2, 3, 4, and hold for 4, 2. So those are just some of the examples of some of the nervous system brain retraining stuff that I like to do with folks, and how easy it can be. There's other stuff out there like tapping, a lot of bioenergetic work. So I work with a company now. I'm their podcast host. So I have my podcast, and I'm a podcast host with a company called Nikki. They used to be called Free Medica, and they had a Wave 1 device, and now it's a Nikki, and it's a wearable, and it's delivering frequencies through red light. And so right now I'm actually running stress and anxiety, because speaking to a new group always kind of makes me a little on the nervous side. I'm human. And they have a Lyme and mold and all kinds of frequencies that come on this little device. And it was funny because being a bioenergetic practitioner, my last machine was a $20,000 machine. And then the machine I'm playing with now is a $10,000 machine. So when I saw this device that they were selling for like $995, I'm like, there's no way the hell that works. There's just no way it works. And then I had the founder on my podcast, completely fell in love with him. And as an entrepreneur, entrepreneurs don't ask to go work for other people. But I just fell in love with him and what he was doing. I'm like, I don't know where you can put me, but I need to work with you. Like, I need to be a part of this. And then 2 months later, they had me be their podcast host. And so I absolutely swear by these little devices, me and my husband both, and they're not a magic bullet, right? There's not in place of, you still can't have a crappy diet, and you still need to be able to sleep, and you still need to work on your detox. They're just another tool in the toolbox, because really you've got to get that foundational down. So then talking about your daughter, because I didn't want to be the bubble girl either, right? This last year when I was traveling, because I love it so much that I just, I'm looking at my new little, it's a portable air filter device that uses ozone and some other stuff. And so I'm really excited to take that with me. And then I take my binders, I take my glutathione, I take my castor oil pack, I make sure to bring my lymph brush with me, right? Do all the things. If I was really bad off, I might even take my sauna blanket with me or my portable relax sauna, because really some of those are some of the best, things against mold, is to be able to sweat it out. And then the brain retraining, right? When I'm feeling myself getting, and then even mindfulness stuff of, I don't have to react to this, right? My body is healed and healthy. I've got crappy genes that doesn't detox mold, but there's a whole nother form of work out there called epigenetics, right? That just because it's in our DNA doesn't mean that it's the be all end all, that our lifestyle and our environment are actually have a heck of a lot more on what genes get expressed and how than anything else. So if I am walking around freaked out of like, oh my God, if you've got the PTSD, because I used to be that way, right? I'd walk into, everywhere I went, I was constantly on guard. I was constantly, that's fight or flight, right? You've got to get out of fight or flight. And it's amazing what happens and how much more resilient your body gets and how less reactive you get. I'm still, working on other ways to detox and looking. And so this is something I said, this is why I'm still in my jammies today, sadly, because I was in class all morning long, because this is what I do. I have no life, and that's fine, because I love what I do. The testimonials that I have on my website, the way I've been able to touch people's life, the life that I am leading now, who I didn't even think 10 years ago, if you would have told me, I would have ended up in California to Connecticut to Texas to Boise, Idaho. I was a MC at a Lyme conference last year. Like, I would have told you were crazy, because I was barely making out of my bed every morning. But it was once I dialed in this lifestyle stuff, once I got, rid of the inflammatory foods, once I really upped my detox game and then lowered my nervous system, magic happened, and I see it happen over and over and over again. So with your daughter, sadly, especially because they're family, she's not going to listen to you. It's just anytime I wanted my family to do something, my son or my ex-husband, I had to watch a documentary, or I had to have like my practitioner friend come over that had similar values, and they would say the same things, and they'd go, oh, we should not be eating GMOs. We should be eating more organic. And I'm like, oh yeah, sure, absolutely. I've been saying that for the past 5 years, but okay. So it's getting creative sometimes of where you can get your information to get them to hear you. And two, it's like with anybody, they kind of have to hit their rock bottom before and it's sad. It's sad that it has to be that way, because I would love, love, love to be able to teach these things to people, the prevention, to where they wouldn't have to go through this struggle, but it's just not how we seem to learn. We have to kind of hit that rock bottom and then be like, okay, I'll do whatever it takes. And that's the type of people I work with. Like, I won't chase people anymore. It's like, you have to really be ready, right? And do whatever it takes to get better. Like, and until she gets there, until things get bad enough, sadly, a lot of times people don't change.
Well, thank you for all that. What you were saying, so many great things. What's this wearable device that you're referring to that it emits? What is it? Is it ultraviolet light?
It's red light. So it delivers frequencies through red light. So unlike an Apple Watch, it's not a device that is actually like taking measurements and all this other stuff. It's purely sending frequencies, and it's kind of cool because the screen is like it's a touch screen with a menu, right? And so it's got like allergies and energy and immune and viruses and bacteria. It's got a Lyme protocol. And so depending on what's going on that day, I'm like, and that was one thing that really helped me out a lot when I was traveling, because like Karen was talking about, like the EMFs, right? So they have a travel feature. So when you're out grocery shopping or on a plane or in your car, you can hit that EMF, that travel, to help mitigate. So it's funny, everybody loves Scott Forleson, right? The Better Health guy. I think he spoke the last time, a couple months ago, right?
Yeah.
He was he was how I heard about this company. So in a way, he got me involved. He was supposed to be their podcast host, but he was too busy and defaulted to me. So no, it was exciting. But yeah, you can actually go to my website, thelymeboss.com, and it's in the resource section. There's a special code that can give you a discount.
Perfect.
But yeah,
Thank you.
it's like I said, I seriously dismissed it for a long time because of how inexpensive it was compared to other bioenergetic stuff that I've played with. For everything from AO to Healy to Zyto. This one I'm playing with now is called a Life System. I used to have a Nest that was a $20,000 system. They were all really great at diagnostic, but I didn't really feel like they moved the needle much for the cost, right? So Nikki, it doesn't have a diagnostic feature to it, but I have really felt it move the needle, especially when somebody's also doing a lot of these other tools. Like, again, it's not a magic bullet. It's not a magic bullet, but it does help alleviate some of that stressors off the body, so then the body can. So I'm such a big proponent of, food sensitivity testing. It's low hanging fruit, right? We can figure out what your body's reacting to and remove that. That's one boulder of inflammation that we can get off your body. And then your body knows how to heal. Like, it's ridiculous. I know a lot of us don't think that now because you're sick. Some of you might be pissed off at your body. You think that your body has betrayed you, right? But the fact that you're still upright and breathing, irregardless of all this other crap that it's dealing with, it really is, it's quite fascinating, the resilience of the body. And if you give it what it needs and get rid of what it doesn't need on what can happen, like, it could be quite magical and quite quick. Like, when I became an FDN, it was in the first 3 months, my life completely changed. And then I hit a wall, and that's when I found out I was living in mold. And that was before people were even talking about mold back in 2013. I got really lucky that I was with FDN, the certification. So Scott's an FDN as well, because it was the founder of FDN who was like, I think you might be living in mold. And the house that we had moved into, people who lived there before us thought they would enclose off the back porch and drywall, carpet, and then they put a hot tub in there. Like, who does that? And we didn't know any better. So when we bought the house, we went in and demoed it ourselves. Like, there's a part of me that wants to go back by that house and like leave a note saying, if you or your family members are suffering from mystery illnesses, it's the mold in this house that you can't see because we remediated it, but we didn't remediate it properly. So it's yeah, it's sad what people do to these buildings, and just the construction. And back in the day we were using lead paint, and that's what kept a lot of the mold away. And then now we're not using lead paint anymore, thank God, but then that's creating a whole nother problem. So now it's the struggle is real for those of us that have chronic illnesses. And like I said, doing these dialed in things every day. And one of my catchphrases is, my self-care feels like a part-time job, but it's better than being full-time sick, right? I have had to learn. So I talk a lot about the blessings of Lyme disease, and I get shot from a lot of people who aren't there yet. And I've learned so much about myself that I would never have learned. I would never have gotten these lessons any other way than being chronically sick. And one of them was to put myself first. Even as a mother, even as an entrepreneur, like, all the cliches, right? You've got to put your own oxygen mask on first. You can't pour from an empty cup. Like, these don't become cliches because with no validity behind them. They become that way because they're completely true. And so I never would have gotten to this point because everybody else came first before me. And now it's the exact opposite. And so that's part of the reason why I'm, like I said, again here, because after this, I'm going to get in my sauna and I'm going to do some sweating. And I didn't want to, put full makeup on and do hair just to get in the sun and sweat. So, I'm walking that talk, right? And not just lip service. So I don't know where I was going with that. And I lost that train of thought. Squirrel. But yeah, so hopefully that was helpful, Jennifer.
Very, yeah. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
And how much is the device?
For Lyme, it's $9.95, and then there's a discount code on my site. And then if you don't, if you're wanting the sleep and the energy, if you're just wanting those packages, I think it's $229, but those plus the Lyme is $9.95. And it's funny, and I don't quite agree with how they do this, but they only give you the Lyme protocol for 45 days. And then after 45 days, you get the other frequencies opened up because they really want you focusing on the Lyme, which I get. But there's so many folks with Lyme who aren't sleeping right? Who have no energy. And I feel like that they would be benefited if they were able to use those other frequency packages earlier, but I'm not the boss, and that's kind of how they have it set up. So just know that if you get one for the first 45 days, you're focusing on your Lyme protocol only. And then after that, all the other stuff opens up for you. If you do end up getting one to, email me, because I actually have videos that aren't out to the regular public on kind of the ins and outs on how to use this thing, because they're not practitioners, right? And so they can't say a lot of the stuff that I have, and they can't recommend things because then they get in trouble. So I've got secret videos for my people. So make sure to email me, and it's heather@thelymeboss.com. So everything is the Lyme Boss. It's very easy. But yeah, like I said, I couldn't get over how inexpensive they were and how well they work. I've gotten ridiculous testimonials from 15-year-old kids who are bedridden, not able to go to school. And then after 3 to 6 months of wearing this, they're back out playing tennis and back in school. Like the allergy part, my husband sneeze, sneeze, sneeze. I slap one on him. We put the allergy thingy on him. Every single time he stopped sneezing. Like I said, every single time I used to travel, I would get sick. So I was using now the travel feature. And then once I would get to my conference, I would use the immune feature. Didn't get sick once. And I went to 5 conferences this last year. It was crazy. Oh, and 2 funerals. So I traveled 7 times total. Didn't get sick. So, but again, it's not a magic bullet. I was still doing my breath work. I was still doing my voos and my push away. My diet was still anti-inflammatory, no dairy, grains, corn, no sugar. I was still getting to bed at 10 o'clock at night. I was still pooping every day. Like I still can't get over how many people, oh yeah, I have a bowel movement every 3 or 4 days and my head explodes. Like you should be pooping daily, really 2 times a day, and if you're not, you need to be focusing on that before you start focusing on what critters you've got going on, because you're going to make yourself really, really sick when you go to kill these guys off if you're not pooping daily, pooping, sweating, peeing daily. So again, focusing on those foundations are absolutely key. Don't pass go, don't collect $200. Focus, dial in those foundations.
Hey, Heather, I think, Erin, did you have something that you wanted to ask? I saw that you posted something in chat. I wasn't sure if you wanted to ask something about Nikki or if there was.
Well, yeah, no, it's just interesting you brought that up because I've been exploring that myself, and I actually had the same sentiment that you just voiced, where it would make more sense to have people sleep better as a mode to even see how well they could, transition into being more, being stronger to deal with whatever they're fighting. Because I think a lot of people don't even know what it is. I mean, this is just, it's mystery post-viral, whatever that's going on. And I'm in that boat. I'm a long COVID person, and I was really strong for a while, and I just had a recent setback. So now I've got dysautonomia really bad, and it's causing a whole bunch of problems with like just what you said, constipation and whatnot. So I've got to work on that, but I had already been looking at the free Medica stuff a long time ago and realized that they had the Nikki device out now, and was kind of interested, being that you work with people, if you've seen, as good of success as I've heard on all these podcasts.
Oh, absolutely. 110%. I don't get involved with the company until I've tried it on myself first. And it's such always a bummer because it's not a magic bullet. And so I'll be all excited about something and I'll have 5 clients do it. 3 of them will have like amazing results and 2 of them are like, meh, it didn't work for me. And it always hurts my heart, those 2 people that it didn't work for, because I always get so excited about it. But again, one of them was a gentleman who wasn't dialing in the basics, and he wanted, my anxiety is really horrible. What's a new supplement you can give me? Have you done your breath work today? Have you done your VU today? Have you meditated today? No, I'm not going to give you another supplement, because then you're not getting to the root cause. Like, at some point, you've got to learn how to self-soothe and get your nervous system calmed down. You can't depend on a pill or a supplement. Like, I know he had pyrrole disorder, so that's another big barrier to health, right? A lot of people don't realize another low-hanging fruit, right? Pyrrole disorder is something that happens from too much oxidative stress. Pyrroles, when they go through the body, we pee them out, and on their way out, they like to suck up B vitamins and they like to suck up copper. Zinc. So B vitamins and zinc. These two things are needed for good neurotransmitter health. So they'll cause anxiety and depression, especially a lot of spinning anxiety. And he had that with his pyrrole disorder. And so I had him on the right supplements, but he also needed to do this other foundational work, and he was just wanting me to throw more band-aids at symptoms. And so of course a lot of this stuff didn't work. But yeah, there's no way I would get behind something. I've been at this for too freaking long, and have worked way too hard to have, to stand behind somebody so I'm a huge fan of methylene blue and red light right now. And there was a company out of Colorado who's making these blue, it's called transcriptions. And
I've seen that.
they're methylene blue. They combine it with CBD, a little bit of nicotine, and caffeine. And all these are supposed to, especially together, the nicotine has been proven to actually help protect against the spike protein, low doses. And so I was really super excited about this, but when I got the product, I noticed it had PEG in it, which is, propylene glycol, which is like antifreeze. And, he tells me, oh, it's just in small doses. And I'm like, it's still poison. I don't care if it's in small doses. So, and it completely wrecked my guts. Like, I couldn't get over how bad it tore up my guts. So, again, I'm like my own little guinea pig. I try everything out on myself first, and really get the ins and the outs before I stand behind something, because like I said, I just, yeah, it's just not how
Yeah,
I
I know,
operate.
I know what you're talking about. I listened to the same person for that company, and
Yeah.
they actually have a disclaimer about PEG on their
Yep.
website.
They do. And I've asked them about it. I'm like, why not just find something else and get that damn thing out of there? And he's like, nothing else helps get the consistency right to get it to, melt in your mouth the way that it does. But no, I love him, like adore him. He is so ridiculously smart. And, I think they're onto something if they could just get rid of that one ingredient. But yeah, so not to throw the baby out with the bathwater, there's a lot of stuff I've learned from him. And I almost had him on my podcast because I just adore him so much, but I couldn't do it. And he completely understood. He was so gracious about it. Like, God bless him. I don't agree with that product that he's got in there, that ingredient. But yeah, like I said, and I'll keep saying it over and over again with the Nikki, it's not a magic bullet. It is just one piece to the puzzle, but it can be very helpful. And I kind of get why they don't release those other frequencies, because a lot of us, especially when you're early on in your Lyme, scatterbrained, right? All over the place. And you really do kind of need to focus, so I get that it kind of helps with that focus, and you're really just dialing it in for the first 45 days. But like I said, sometimes I think it could be really helpful if we help somebody sleep and maybe get more energy while they're going through it. But it is only for 45 days. So who knows if they'll change their mind or come around to that. They've had a few complaints lately. So I don't know. I'll keep putting my 2 cents in too, because that's kind of how I'm wired.
And that's methylene blue?
That was the Nikki that I was talking about again. But yeah. So yeah, methylene blue and red light, that's been a ridiculous game changer, especially as far as like my brain and my energy goes. And it's really supposed to be helpful with COVID. Not to be mixed with SSRIs, or so if you're on prescriptions, watch out for that. I found out the hard way too. So I was at a conference and they were doing microdosing. I'm a huge fan of plant medicine, by the way. That's a whole nother conversation we could have. So diving deeper into that trauma without actually having to relive the trauma. completely changed my life. So that's also helped my nervous system change a lot. But we were at a women's conference and we were microdosing. You're not supposed to get high off of microdosing, but I forgot that I took methylene blue that morning, and the microdosing has a tendency to work on the same serotonin pathways that SSRIs do. And so there's a intrication, and it knocked me on my ass for like 2 hours. I was tripping at this women's conference where you weren't supposed to be. And so, like I said, if you can get in trouble with something, I'm usually the one that figures it out the hard way and then tells everybody else, hey, don't mix microdosing with methylene blue. But yeah, there's so many amazing tools out there these days that weren't available back when I was going through this stuff. So much more information out there. It's just incredible.
Hey, Gary, I saw that you posted here that you were just confirming that you had asked Heather, so I'll just confirm that.
Oh.
So Gary's asking, did you say you like methylene blue? So it sounds like you do.
I do. So yeah, if you're not taking prescription medications, SSRIs, yes. Actually, there's that on my resource section on my webpage as well. And then if you mix it with red light, it really supercharges it. So I will take it and then I'll wait 10 minutes and then I put my red light mat on my belly. It's got some sort of photo stimulation that just really helps supercharge it. And you could actually kind of feel, it does with me, like I feel like an energy, like a battery being charged up when I do this. It's probably another one of those reasons why I don't think so there's 3 reasons I think I've not gotten sick this year. One of them is I've been using a Navage, which is like a neti pot on steroids. You can get it at, well, I think actually I have it on my resource page, but you also can get those on Amazon, but they're like a neti pot, but instead of using gravity, which I have a deviated septum and I've got some screwed up sinuses. So the gravity part never worked for me, to where this actually shoots it in your nose and then the other side sucks it out. Total game changer. And for those of us living in mold, you can actually put a little carboxy in it. You can put a binder in it, and then it'll help bind the stuff that's colonizing in your nose. So between that and my new air filters, and then the methylene blue and the red light, I think is the biggest reason why. Oh, and the Nikki using the immune, I think are the 4 biggest reasons why I haven't been sick this last year, and working on my nervous system, right? So even when I was traveling, I really, at the grocery store daily, I've got to make sure that I'm doing those things, because if not, it very easily, Dr. Joe Dispenza says, you've got to change your personality in order to change your personal reality. And it's hard to overcome. I'm going to be 46 in a couple months. It's hard to overcome 36 years of the way I used to talk to myself, the way my parents used to talk to me, right? The way my ex-husband used to talk to me. Yeah, that's where it originally came from. It was used, it's a medical dye originally that's been around since the late 1800s. They originally found out that it was good for killing malaria. They were trying to study it and saw that it could kill malaria right there on the slide. But I know, like Dr. Horowitz, I always forget, is it Babesia or Bart? I think it's Babesia. I always get the 2 mixed up when it comes to methylene blue with that, but it's really great for the co-infections, and it's really great for helping ward against COVID, because it helps with the spike protein. And lower inflammation and get more energy. It's great for the brain. Like there's a lot of, and it's small doses. I mean, if you're dealing with an active infection, higher doses are okay for a short period of time, but really a lot of the magic is the lower doses. So like I said, there's a lot of information out there these days. I'm not an expert on methylene blue yet. It's something that I've just recently been playing around with over the past couple of months, and absolutely love it. And normally I'm not missing words as much as I am, but I didn't actually take my methylene blue this morning. So I'm curious if that has something to do with it.
Where do you get your methylene blue from? Is this?
Yeah, actually it's on my website, on the resource section, there's
Okay.
a brand that because a first cut, well, I told you. So the one brand I was looking at had the PEG in it. Another one, it was not food grade, it was cosmetics grade, which is horrible. You don't want to take, because like I said, it was originally made for like dyeing blue jeans. It was a food grade dye.
Hmm.
So yeah, I did some research, found a company that's organic. It only like has 2 ingredients in it, and the price is right, because that was the other thing. I originally got involved with an MLM who had another like little sheet that dissolves in your mouth, but again, it had like 6 different ingredients in it, some gum, some other stuff. I was just like, no, and so I kept digging deeper until I find this one, and it doesn't stay in your mouth as bad, because those like the transcriptions and then the one that you take that melt in your mouth, like it really. I have a couple of videos out from promoting my podcast, and like half my mouth is just smurf blue because I couldn't get rid of the color that day. So
Do,
you have to,
do you do you see a big impact from taking it, even if you weren't using the red light?
yeah, but it's just not it's not as
Pronounced?
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and if you don't have a red light, they say if you can just get outside for 5 to
Yeah.
10 minutes after you take it, that helps as well. But
Probably be better in the summertime. Yeah.
oh yeah, most definitely. Like I said, I don't want to go outside and expose myself. It's too damn cold. I don't like the cold. So that's why I love my little, so I've got that up on my website too. It's a little, who's it from? Therasage. It's like a little pad. It's about this big, $200. I love it. So I just put it underneath my shirt, in the morning while me and my husband are doing our gratitude practices, right? Because again, I used to be a very cynical, sarcastic, negative, reactive person. And if we want something different, we had to be something different. So now we start off our mornings every morning, taking our methylene blue, doing our red light, and we have our gratitudes to really remind us of all the beautiful things in the world there really are to be grateful for, even if we feel like shit. And there's been days where he'll ask me, what are you grateful for? And I'm like, nothing. He's like, try again, and I'm like, no, I'm grateful, especially last week with the 14 below degree weather, I'm grateful for a warm house to live in. Like sometimes you have to get that granular when you're really feeling like shit from a chronic illness. And if that's where you have to live, then that's where you have to live. I'm drinking clean water, I'm eating clean food, and I get to, breathe clean air, because 80% of the world doesn't have that luxury. But that whole gratitude practice also comes into play with that nervous system resetting, because gratitude has a completely different frequency than worry and fear. And like 2 ends of a spectrum, they can't live in one. So if you're living too much in fear and anxiety, if you can get into gratitude and love, it helps shift that nervous system as well. And I know it sounds woo-woo, hippie, fairy dust. I shit you not, though. It's such a game changer.
Hey, Heather, Gary wants just to confirm that the methylene blue is good for Lyme and related co-infections.
Yes.
All right. And then Karen wanted to ask, what's the difference between the red light therapy and the cold laser?
Don't know. That's outside of my area of expertise. Good question.
I just looked it up and they're the same thing.
I thought they were, and so, but I wasn't quite sure. See, I don't have the ego where I'm like, if I don't know, I don't know. I'll go look it up. I'll get back to you. But yeah.
Yeah, red light therapy is another term for what is widely known as low-level laser therapy, LED therapy, or cold laser therapy. So,
Oh, interesting.
I have another little red light mask too that helps with collagen stimulation and wrinkles. And so it's funny, at night I'll have it looks like something from the Squid Games. So I'll wear my little red light mask, and then I've got my red light pad, on my back, or, I've been dealing with some plantar fasciitis lately, which freaking pisses me off, so I'm all red lighted out every day. I love it.
Jan, did you want me to read your question, or you want to go ahead and ask it?
Can you hear me? I'm never sure if I'm on or not.
Yep, we can hear you.
I just wanted to give a little tip that I have found this month. 28 years of 5 infections, 5 years in Boston on antibiotics, and just herbs. Buna Protocol. I love the Connecticut Dr. Hinchy. She has Lyme Core Botanicals.
I was
everyone
her
is-
MC last year for her Lyme Bites conference. So I love Dr. Mariah.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, her products are kicking my butt. And I'm only on the BAB core and the Lyme core. That's enough. I can't even go near the BART core. So I do Reiki, massage, acupuncture, cranial sacral. I have my sacred red light. I have the electronic pad, PEMF. But I have just started. I just did 7 sessions with the Stretch Lab. I have a condo. I was told by a spine specialist when fibromyalgia finally hit me this year. He's the spine specialist for the Atlanta Falcons. He said, you're going to be in a wheelchair. Get yourself a treadmill immediately. Move as much as you possibly can. I said, you don't know Lyme disease. I just don't want to move. I don't want to move at all. He said, you've got to. So I got the treadmill for my 80th birthday in November, and I joined this Stretch Lab. I am everything but dancing. I am about running up the stairs. I cannot believe what stretching does for your body. And when I first was told that my knees would be touching my chest, and when I'm on my stomach, my heels would be touching my glutes, I thought I would probably have the heart attack because our hearts are always stopping with our Lyme. And I am anxious to wash the floor. It's stretching my arms. And I guess one of the main reasons that you improve so much is that it's blood flow release or something.
Absolutely. That and it's lymph movement. Our lymph.
Oh,
Yeah, unlike other things that are heart pumps, the only time our lymph moves, and we've got so much lymph fluid, that's what helps us detox, and we only do that is when we move or dry brushing. So lymph movement is absolutely crucial. So I love that.
I've had many lymph sessions. I got all 4 of the COVID shots, terrified, and I went to lymph massage drainage immediately within a few hours of each one. I do believe that I declined very quickly from getting the shots. I'm sorry that I did, but everybody was dying around me. So I now will thank you for that knowledge. I don't really have to go. And what did you say about a lymph brush? Where did you get that, and what do you do with it?
So hold on real quick. Let me grab one.
And ladies, you don't have to join the Stretch Lab. It does end up being a 3-month commitment for about $800. You could just do it on your own at home, because I'm doing everything he does for me, which is just juvenile when you think about it. But I can do squats, and I had been a dancer, and I have not done squats for 25 years. And I can do squats all on my own without Rick picking me up off the floor. You can do it on your own and save money, but do it.
That's awesome, Jan. And that's what I'm screaming at the top of my lungs, that when you dial back in the basics, right? The stuff that feels juvenile, the stuff that feels so easy, this can't possibly work. This lifestyle that we have right now is not conducive for human health at all. We sit too long under artificial lights, drinking or, breathing recycled air, eating processed food, vaccines, the whole 9 yards. It's not conducive for human health. But yeah, dry skin brushing, get this off of Amazon, right?
Okay.
Start at your feet and you actually work your way up. You want to brush each section about 10 times. So you'll go from your feet to your knees 10 times, front and back, all the way up. Start with your palm, go down towards your heart. So you're always wanting to go towards your heart.
Okay.
Ladies out there, bend over, make sure your breasts hang and get your breasts really great, because how many, we've got issues with breast cancer and not detoxing the lymph and the glands that are in the breast, around the belly. So I like to habit stack. So before I get into my sauna, about a half hour before I get into my sauna, I'll take my binders. And then I do my lymph brushing, and then I get in the sauna. Ooh, totally different experience than if I just get in my sauna by itself, because I have a whole video on how to do a sauna properly, because so many people are like, I can't sweat, or I've tried it and I feel like shit. There's an actual science. There's a methodology behind it to actually have a successful sauna experience, because those of us that, we didn't sweat for decades, right? It took me 2 to 3 weeks before I started sweating, but I had to keep at it. And just like anything else, it's slow and low, making sure you're hydrated properly, making sure you have enough electrolytes. Like there's a lot of things that have to be in place. Most people just think, oh, you walk into a sauna and you start to sweat. Not us, not those that are of us dealing with Lyme disease and mold, right? There's a whole to-do behind it. And so
How long in the sauna? I have a nice sauna, but I never know what I'm to do. I go 20 minutes.
well, it depends, when you're starting off, low and slow, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, work your way up.
Okay.
My relaxed sauna only goes up to 30 minutes, and that's the max that I'll do is 30 minutes, especially because by the time now I'm dripping in sweat. And so that's my max.
Is this brushing done in the shower or just anywhere?
Dry brushing, so it's done while you're dry. So actually, if you do it before you get in your
Oh.
shower, or if you
Oh.
get in the sauna, it's really helpful.
Okay, thank you.
Moving that lymph around. Yeah, absolutely. What is the Colorado source of methylene blue? I don't know. The one I have on my website is called Earth Harmony, and that was the first organic one that only has like 2 ingredients that didn't cost an arm and a leg. And then after that, I ended up having to, I read a couple books online on Amazon, and then I joined a couple Facebook groups because, like I said, it is something newer out there. I even noticed that iLads actually has an old, a past webinar that they did, I think 6 months ago on methylene blue that you can pay to watch. Because I know Dr. Horowitz talks about it. Like anything else, there's some controversy behind it. There's some, different ideology, behind it. And you just kind of have to weed through it and find out what works for you. Like I said, for me, I take 1 dropper full of the Earth Harmony that I have on my website, and a little bit of water. It's about 10 milligrams. And if I'm feeling a little run down, like I'm coming down with something, I might take 2 dropperfuls, which would be 20 milligrams. And then 10 minutes later, like I said, I get my red light for 10 minutes and then I'm good. But like I said, it would be good to do a little research on your own before you start it, because there is some, like I said, between if you're taking prescriptions, if you have issues, if you're on SSRIs, there are some contraindications that you really want to know about. But for the most part, there's a lot of great information out there.
I'd like to say one thing. I saw an interview with Dr. Horowitz. I think he cured his wife with it. She's cured.
Yeah.
And he said he was going to bring this information to the CDC by the end of the year. I'd never heard if he did or not.
That's his dapsone protocol. So he's doing with her, he did a double dapsone protocol.
Oh, thank you.
Yep. Yeah, actually, I had him on the Nikki's podcast. So if you went to Bioenergetic Beats, you could find the episode with me and Dr. Horowitz. It was a really good. My website is thelymeboss.com.
Okay, thanks.
And yeah, you can find the BioBeats podcast on my website as well.
I have a very important question. I hate to be taking everyone's time, but this bugs me awful. And you're the one that I have a whole Lyme office here. All I do is contact Congress and go to my new congressman and complain. And where's my tick count?
Are you going to be at the Lyme fly-in?
Yes, I am.
Fabulous. I'll see you there.
So, but what I have is everything from LymeDisease.org, every possible cure. Now we've got Harvard. We've got everybody involved in the cure coming out. There are, so many millions were given from the Defense Department and Stephen and Alexander Cohen that everybody has a cure coming in a minute. It's fascinating how many papers. I volunteer for Tick NC. And in this, and I hand these out by the dozens in my city. And in this goes every piece of paper. Duke University, I'm from Asheville, North Carolina, so Duke. So where are we going to go when these cures are out? They're all pending, but they are multiple antibiotics. It's fascinating how far they've come. Are we going to take antibiotics? It's my big question at my age, being sick for so long. I'm going to dive in and say, I am your person. Go ahead. I'll stay here at Duke. Do what you've got to do. I already know what antibiotic does to me. I was on it for 5 years on every one you could get because I even have Rocky Mountain. Are any of us really going to jump in and go with these cures? What do you suggest? Probably not.
So my biggest talk is what, I can't remember what the name of it is. I have to pull it out again. It's, why focusing on cures is keeping you stuck in your Lyme disease, thing. Because it's just
Okay.
like I said, I focused even functional medicine, right? We were still focusing on, we were switching prescriptions to herbs and other natural supplements, which is a great step in the right direction. But if you're still not dialing in sleep, if you're still not pooping every day, if you're not sweating, if you're not moving, if your diet sucks, if you don't sleep, if your stress is out through the roof, if your nervous system is trashed, the best cure in the world might get you better. And it'll get better for a short period of time, but you mark my words, you will relapse. I did it over and over and over again until I stopped chasing the cure and focused on lifestyle. Like that's my whole big spiel is you got to dial in the lifestyle. There's been a lot of people I work with that once we dialed in the detox and the lifestyle, they didn't have to treat, because then their body's natural immune system kicked in and put it in its place. Dr. Wall says that we have co-evolved with this bacteria for thousands of years. It was found in a mummy in the Italian Alps like 4,000 years ago. So this isn't our first rodeo with this guy. I do believe some shit happened and it's been a little bit more supercharged, weaponized. And then we've got our own immune system that's been lacking because it's being hit with EMFs. It's been hit with, other toxins, vaccines, crappy water, stressful lifestyles.
No nutrition in our soils anymore.
No, not at all.
Right.
None.
Right.
Our food is depleted. Like, they say you have to eat like 15 bowls of spinach to get the same amount of iron from one bowl that you used to 50 years ago. So,
Yes.
and everything's been killed. All the spores are gone, everything.
Yeah, we've disinfected everything. And it's so sad because we are more bacteria than we are human cells. So it's getting back down to the basics. So again, I'm not a big fan of chasing what new cure is out. At some point, yes, if you've got an overload of the critters, you've got to deal with that. I've seen a lot of beautiful stuff with herbs, with bioenergetic work, with ozone, with methylene blue, with MMS. Like there's a lot of stuff out there that we don't necessarily have to do, but everybody's different and that's their path to walk, right? But if you do long-term antibiotics or multiple antibiotics, you just know you're gonna have to spend a little more work rehealing the gut, repopulating everything that you've wiped out, because like I said, we are more bacteria than we are human cells, and that stuff wipes everything out, the good and the bad. But it's not to, everybody's path is different. So not to say one path is better than the other. How awesome it is that we have so many different ways to choose from, and you can do what feels right for you. I'm saying though that you really have got to dial in the lifestyle stuff before you go chasing treatment.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Does anybody else have any other questions or comments? This is a great discussion.
You
Yay.
see a lot of.
Go ahead, Aaron.
I've never used castor oil packs, but I'm curious if you see a lot of success with that.
Are you kidding? On my resource section, every person who signs up with me, so every person who signs up with me gets these 4 things. One of them is EMF rocks. Believe it or not, these actually help mitigate EMFs. They've been a huge game changer. So when I travel, Jennifer, this is another thing that I bring with me, because I can't turn the Wi-Fi off at the hotel rooms. I can't turn the Wi-Fi off at the Airbnbs. And I'm so sensitive to Wi-Fi that this actually helps mitigate it. So every person that works with me, included in their packages, this, a Nikki, and a castor oil pack. And there's something else too, I can't remember off the top of my head. But for the reason the castor oil pack, the Latin name for the plant of castor oil actually translates to palm of God. That's how nourishing and healing that plant is for helping detox the liver. So again, this is a practice that's been around for forever. And we've tweaked it to where, it's a little bit more modernized. So the way that we use it is It comes with a pad. It kind of looks like a giant maxi pad with strings that ties around your body. So you can actually wear it overnight to really help dial in people with constipation. It helps with sleep. It helps with detox. It helps support the liver. So yes, I'm a huge, huge fan of castor oil packs just because of how gentle they are but how powerful they are. Same thing with coffee enemas. I love, like, again, these are low cost hacks that really
Yeah.
help move the needle.
Yeah, no, that's my sister-in-law said that I should do it because she had a lot of success with it, actually with IBD. So
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So again, on my resource section, there's one and there's a coupon code in there for you. Everything on my resource section, I have tried personally and have vetted. Otherwise, there's no way it would be on that page. And there's been things that I've actually taken off after I've already put it on because once I learn better, I do better. And the knowledge and the information out there is always changing, right? So it gets updated on quite a regular basis. Right now, the only thing that's not up there are my air purifiers, which I'm still waiting to get a code from them because I've been researching air purifiers for the past 3 years, and most of them are ridiculously expensive. And this was the first company that was semi affordable, who were using stuff like UV light and ozone. So they were using what they call nature's ways of disinfecting, right? That they're putting into this technology. And I just had him on my podcast. It's not out yet. It's not out for probably another month and a half. But with the founder, Alan, it was so good. Like, I'm so in love with this company. And they make, they make an ozone generator for your washing machine. So you don't
yeah,
have to use detergent anymore
I
or
sent that
hot
to my
water.
sister.
I love it. I love it so much. So no more toxic ingredients in your laundry detergent, no, and no hot water. So I'm lowering.
And actually, it's supposed to clean better too, just
I love it.
overall.
Absolutely love it.
Could you explain this better? I don't know what you're talking about here. Just what is this ozone thing for the washer?
So
Excuse me.
it's a little machine, takes 20 minutes to install right above your washer, and the water goes through it and it ozonates it before it goes into your washing machine. So it actually cleans your clothes. Ozone has gotten a bad rap in this country
Yeah.
because
yeah.
when the ozone is high and they tell you to
Yeah.
stay in, ozone's not the bad guy. Ozone is showing up because of the toxic pollution. It's there to clean things up. And
Oh,
so that's a lot. It's a huge, a lot of remediation companies will use it to help with mold. And it's just awesome at cleaning. And so, it's the air filters and then this water filter. And so you don't have to have hot water to wash your laundry anymore. And you don't have to use laundry detergent.
wow.
You just use this ozone machine, that,
Yeah, it's supposed to preserve the fabric better. So
yeah.
like detergent you wouldn't have as much
Wow.
lint.
I had an incident where it bleached out a couple of my clothes first because there's some impurities in the water here. So they had to send me a special filter first. And then once I got the filter on before it goes into the ozone, now it's been working perfect. But I did lose a couple towels and a brand new shirt before we got it figured out. But now that it's been dialed in, it's been amazing. I love it.
Heather, where did you get that at?
Green Tech is the name of the company. And I'll have a code and I'll have a discount code that goes with it, but they just haven't gotten that to me yet. But Green Tech is the company. And they have, I got their little refrigerator air purifier because, I eat real food. Real food sometimes spoils. And every now and then you open up the refrigerator and you're like, what the hell is that smell? And this thing took care of all that. I can't believe it. It's absolutely incredible. And it's rechargeable. And so it scared the crap out of me the other day, the first time, because you open it up and it's light censored once the battery goes down too low. So I open up my refrigerator that's not supposed to be beeping at me. And I get this beep, beep, beep. And I thought there was like a bomb in the refrigerator or something. And I shut the door really quick and I look at my husband. He's like, what was that? I'm like, I don't know. He's like, is that your air purifier? And I'm like, all right.
Oh.
So just had to plug it back in and now it's fine. But it was kind of made for a funny story at first. But yeah, they've got a lot of, it's funny too, because I was kind of busting his balls on my podcast because he's an ex-defense military person who's using nature. I'm like, so how does a military person go to crunchy hippie person, right? Because that's what you're doing when you're using nature and these things. And he just laughed. He's like, because his mom was in she was a teacher in a school building forever, had no issues until they decided that the building wasn't energy efficient enough. So they tore it down, built a new building. It was infected with mold, and within a year and a half later, she was dead. She died from mold toxicity.
Oh my
Oh,
And
goodness.
that's what prompted him to start this company and do what he did. So yeah, really excited to be in.
I'd like to ask something about mold. I have a wonderful herbalist in Massachusetts that saw me weekly for years, and then I moved away to mountains. And so we have forest here. It's a great forest city full of mountains and mold. So I have to watch the humidity on the TV every day. Is it 97 or whatever? And when you are in your shower, that is mold. Now we all have snow. A lot of us have snow everywhere. That's going to be moisture melting soon. So the mold is everywhere in my shower, out there. We don't have a whole lot of snow here, but everyone that I know back in the north definitely has a lot of snow. So all that is melting. So the humidity is in the air. So is the best thing to do to take supplements then, like I will take berberine every night and I'll take quercetin. Is the best thing to do to be sure, because I don't know how. My herbalist, when I said to her, I don't have mold, I just had everything mitigated in this home that I bought, and I don't have it. She said, do you ever open your door? Do you open your door to get in the car? I don't care how good your filter is in your car. You're surrounded with mold. So the supplements I take all the time, because she says on every session, yep, it's mold and pollen. It's mold and pollen. And like you moving all year, if you go 100 miles away from your home, you've got new pollen making you sick in new ways. So mold is mold, pollen changes, but what do you use in the house to mitigate do you have a dehumidifier? What is the best thing you do? Because yes, I do open my door. By Amazon products,
Well, and really, you should be letting fresh air in. The humidity where I'm at doesn't get bad enough to actually call for a dehumidifier. And if I'm taking
Oh,
a shower, I'm making sure my door is open, my
okay.
fan is
Oh,
on, right? So it never gets that
okay.
way. But for me, it's these air purifiers. And so it's, like I said, they've got an ozone feature that I'll run the ozone at night. And then during the day, I switch it to the regular feature to help. But just making sure that your own, like I said, the nervous system resetting stuff, your own immune system is strong enough that you're dialing in your detox, because again, we can't hide from this stuff. It is everywhere, but it's
Everywhere.
how well we're taking care of ourselves is then how well our body can mitigate it and handle it. So you're
Okay.
doing great with taking those herbs and taking your supplement at night, but are you sweating? Do you have a regular detox, protocol that you're doing?
I have a sauna, but I'm not sweating a whole lot, like you said earlier. But now that I'm stretching and moving more, and I had a great muscle loss, muscle wasting.
A
So
rebounder is also a very inexpensive hack that helps move the lymph. If you could rebound for 10 minutes every day,
what
total
is
game
that?
changer.
What
It's
is that?
like a little mini trampoline.
Oh, you just jump on it?
Yeah, 10 minutes a day. Huge for moving your lymph and helping detox.
Wow.
And they
Wow.
also have vibration plates, which are a little more expensive, but for those who can't,
Oh,
do any physical activity, the vibration plates are really good.
thank
Absolutely.
you.
Absolutely.
Michelle, I know you have a question. Did you want to ask it, or do you want Heather to read it or I read it? Heather, do you want to go ahead and take a look at that question from her there?
Sure, except I don't know how to pronounce that. Does anyone by
Oh, hi,
chance?
Michelle. Hello, she's on. Hi, Michelle.
Hi,
I
I'm
saw
here.
you. Go
I
ahead.
had
take
everything
it.
muted. Yeah, it was just I came late, so this is probably off topic. But it was just something that just wanted to throw out to pretty much the group if anyone happens to know.
It's outside of my scope just because I focus on lifestyle, mindset, detox,
Okay.
But yeah, so that's outside of my scope. Does anybody else have any ideas around
Is it antibiotic? I don't even know what that is. Is that
It
a
is an
antibiotic?
antibiotic. I think it's one of
Mm.
the anti-malarial. I'm starting to now be given anti-malarial medications for the co-infections. And
Mm.
yeah, they're turning out to be like $300 a month, which when you're already on a lot of supplements and things, it's a huge expense, really.
There's a overseas pharmacy that I order from. I don't know, is it okay to give the name?
Yeah, go ahead.
It's All Day Chemist.
Okay, that's what I was wondering also, if there was anything,
I
you
had
know, like a
Linea.
Canadian pharmacy or something.
I had taken a Linea for a while, and I think it's about $1,300 a month to get it in the US. And it was $35 from All
Oh my
Day
gosh.
Chemist. It takes
Okay.
about 3 weeks. I think they're primarily out of India, but I had just ordered something and it came from Germany. And it takes about 3 weeks to receive anything, and it's a $25 shipping, but the medications, I mean, those are the countries where most or many of the medications are manufactured, and my doctor gave me that information, so I felt quite comfortable ordering from them.
Great. I'll check it out. Thank you very much.
Mm.
Yeah, Jennifer, I saw your question about the mold remediator. Yeah, no, those things are amazing. And so the Green Tech air filters, they actually have an away mode. So they have 3 different modes. They have an away mode that's like powerful ozone, so you're not supposed to be in the house when you run that. And then they have medium ozone, to where you can run that during the day and still be there. And then they have a mode without ozone. So it's a green, blue, and yellow. And so a lot of times, like in my office in the morning, I'll hit the red button, I'll walk out for half, I'll go take my shower, make my breakfast. And by the time I come in, it's done the big scrub. And then I just run, well, actually right now I'm running blue. So I'm running a little bit of ozone right now. I personally like the smell of ozone. I had a hardcore ozone machine years ago. I was doing vaginal insufflations, rectal insufflations. I was putting it in my ears. I was drinking the water. So I really like the smell of ozone. Ozone was a huge game changer in my life. But like I said, there's a lot of people who are scared of it. So, but
Is that on your resources, Heather, on your website? What you're talking about right there?
no, not yet. Because they're just getting their affiliate stuff put together, and so they're getting me a code and all that stuff. But no, it's not up there. But that's just Green Tech. So if you go to Green Tech's website, for the ozone air filters and washing machine.
So are you familiar with a equipment called the Weber? It's FDA approved in Germany, but not here. And there's about 10 physicians in the US that use it. And it's IV ultraviolet light to kill
Oh yeah.
Lyme and co-infections. And that's how it killed my babesia and my Lyme. So I don't know if that's just too out there to share on something like this, but I just wanted to say
No,
we're fortunate. What was that,
I
Jody?
want to know about it. What is it? I want to write it down. What did you do?
Well, so there's a doctor in Annapolis, Maryland that I live 45 minutes from. So I used to live in Colorado. I went to college in Boulder, and so that's why I still hang with you Coloradans. But and that's where my daughter got her Lyme disease, was Colorado. But anyway, we live out here now in the East Coast, and so it's called the Weber, and it's a German FDA approved equipment, and it's IV, goes in your arm. And it's what made me think to share this was, Heather, you talking about the red light. So different colors of light, they'll run every color through your arm for Lyme and co-infections. And I mean, I don't know how long I had babesia, but he killed it like
Wow.
within 3 treatments. Yeah.
Wow.
And so there is somebody out of Seattle area I know. Outside of that, I don't know where there's only like I say 8 to 10 doctors in US that do this machine, which is sad. I don't know why more aren't, but I had no hercs,
Because it
no side
works.
effects.
Like there's a couple
I
there's a couple airports that will use that light therapy on the handrails. So instead of using toxic chemicals, they're using that UV light on the
yeah.
handrails to disinfect it from COVID. These
Wow.
air
Yeah.
filters also have the UV light that helps disinfect the air from COVID and other viruses and bacteria. So no, like I said,
Wow.
it's amazing what we can learn from nature, you know, especially
Wow.
finding
Yeah.
something from nature. So I love light therapy. I think
Yeah,
it's
good
awesome.
point. I guess they use it to kill off things in operating rooms too.
Yep.
So it's been around for a while. I don't know
Yep.
why it hasn't taken off in our country, but at any rate, I just thought I'd throw that out there because
Thank
we're
you.
all looking for
Because it's
solutions
hard
here.
to
And
patent and make money off of things that nature provides. That's part of the reason why
Mm.
a lot of those technologies aren't out there more, is because you know, for the R&D, it takes a lot of money, and you can't patent something, which then means anybody can dovetail off your work and make money off of it. So there's no money in it for these companies to work on things that you can't patent. And you can't patent light, you know, for the most part. You can't
Yeah.
patent air, you know.
Is it possible to mention a book that I just read? Is it possible to say it?
Sure, absolutely.
Walk the Lyme. I
Yeah.
believe it just came out. It's TJ Nelson. Did anyone else read it? He
I-
got well.
I had him on my podcast as well.
Oh,
Yeah,
I
TJ's
could
great.
not put this book down, and he got well, and he was alone with no one loving him anywhere. And it's very influential at the end, this page after page after page of what he took. He failed and he won, and he failed and he won, and he was suicidal the whole time. It's like 25 years old, I think. I saw him on Fred Diamond's podcast, and I am so happy with this kid getting well. He's a multi-million-dollar business with solar panels door to door. He has a fantastic spirit and loved to sell and loved to interact with people. And then he was dying and dying and dying for 6 years. He tried everything in Mexico, everything everybody's already tried. He tried it. And it was just very inspiring. It's a small book, very inspiring to me that he fought this all by himself with nobody to love him. And he did it. And he failed so many times, but he just kept getting up. It's all about the spirit, your attitude, as you say, Heather,
Absolutely.
your gratitude, attitude, all of that. So that was inspiring to me, that this young kid can get back in and make his multi-million-dollar business work again. So I'll see it on your podcast, and I'm so glad you had him. He was inspiring to me this week.
Mm.
Absolutely.
Any other questions?
I have just a little input. If you're doing castor oil packs and just starting with them, I recommend that you start on the descending colon, because as most of us have dealt with some kind of bowel issues or constipation, you really want that pathway to start open, be open before you start doing the liver or other organs that carry a high level of toxicity. Often if you just start with the liver, you can Herx pretty good because it's not moving out of your system. So the
Oh.
descending colon is just on the left side of the abdomen, kind of from the ribs down to the hip. And I always recommend that people kind of start there.
What do you do with this pack? I don't know how to do this.
So you wear it, so or the other way is that you start with less, so go slow and low, like the full recommended dose is a tablespoon, but I usually have people start off with like half a teaspoon, you know, and work their way up. But it's a pack that you wear over the right side, right on your ribs, right below your breasts, and where your liver sits. And then it helps, like I said, detox the liver, helps with constipation, helps with supporting the bile, helps with sleep, helps regulate hormones. They're even actually putting castor oil a little bit in their belly button. They're starting to find out, same thing with methylene blue. They're finding out that
Wow.
belly button is a great way to get things into the system and bypassing your gut, because most Americans have a leaky, compromised gut. And so, and they're like suggesting, so a little bit of like 1 teaspoon of castor oil to a couple drops of like lavender type essential oil into the belly button can really help lower inflammation and help relax. So just another, that's not one I've played with, but it's been one that I've been hearing in the places that I spend a lot of time at with the functional world that I live in the bioenergetic world. And so it's been interesting to see more and more people talking about it using belly buttons as way as getting stuff into the system.
You know, what I had happen this week, my ileocecal valve went open on my right side. Are any familiar with that? And it pours toxins into your body if it's open.
Mm.
So my practitioner taught me how to close it, you know, by measuring over so far and then pressing in and lifting up. Does anybody have trouble? I'm so old now, everything falls apart.
Oh no.
But it's important. It's a good way. If you've got toxins going in from that valve open and you don't know it, you're not going to get better from even attitude, I'm afraid. It's awful. So I
How
have
did
to
they know
block
it was open?
Yeah, I was going to ask
I
that.
Yeah, I first had a little bit of pain, and then eventually, you know, things don't dawn on me for 3 days. I will suffer through something so minor that can be fixed in 1 minute, but I'm so, you know, our brains do this. What is this? What do I have? What should I do? Our brains are so locked in and all my lesions in my brain. About 3 days later, I thought, I wonder if I feel more crappy than I should because that valve is open because it has happened so many times. And
Mm.
so I went to the belly button, I go over away and then down an inch or two, and you lie on your bed and you just pull that up. And I just started immediately feeling a lot better. So I asked my practitioner, and she said, yes, when you were back here in Massachusetts, we used to fix that on you all the time. Why then, Heather, does this valve open? What causes that? Probably my stretch lab.
You know, that's a good question. I don't work with a lot of like the acute things that are breaking. I'm more of a lifestyle detox. So that's more doctor practitioner
Okay.
than what yeah. Good question.
I could
Yes.
help answer that.
Thank you.
The ileocecal sits between the small intestine and the large intestine, and it's a little valve that's supposed to open and close. So it can get in dysfunction from the constipation, the diarrhea, inflammation, and parasites like to hang out in that area.
Oh,
So it's not
Mm.
that uncommon for that to get thrown off.
and it makes you
Hmm.
feel really awful. And then when you fix it, you get your energy back. It's probably
Well,
common then.
the valve is supposed to keep things moving in the correct direction, all your fecal matter. And so when
Yes.
that stays open, things are kind of going back and forth and back and
Oh,
forth. So then that toxicity level builds up.
Mm. Hmm.
So then how does that get diagnosed? How do you know that that's not working properly?
That is more difficult to answer. A lot of times chiropractors look at it and fix it. As you said, you can just kind of on the right side do a massage from the top of the hip and just kind of pull up, do a scooping motion and just kind of pull up. That's just good for your bowels in general. And then if that's in dysfunction, it'll help to reset it.
it does cause lots of constipation, and it is a chiropractor that taught me about it.
Mhm.
And people don't realize they do not have to feel so like crap, and they don't have to be having this diarrhea and this constipation just because of those valves. It's an amazing thing that no one teaches us this.
Well, that's
Thank you.
another thing I say often is no matter how common a symptom may be, it is never normal, right? We have you know, from the silly commercials that out there, you know, if you've got heartburn, diarrhea, indigestion, you know, they even sing little jingles to make it sound cute, to normalize it. And that's been one of our huge downfalls, is because now
Yeah.
we've normalized feeling like
Yeah.
shit, that people no longer know how to read their body.
Yeah.
And so it is always your check engine light coming on saying, hey, there's something going on in here. But then we take something over the counter, which just puts
Right.
tape over that check engine light instead of actually getting to the root cause. So yeah, absolutely. We shouldn't be feeling like crap. We shouldn't have people. It's crazy to me. I had one woman come to me for weight loss, like back in the day. And after we did some food sensitivity testing, then she tells me that her migraines went away. And I was like, wait, you deal with migraines on a daily basis. Like you kind of buried the lead there. Like I wouldn't be worried about weight loss if you're dealing with chronic debilitating migraines every day. But again, she didn't realize that that's not normal, because when you're inundated with commercials of Tylenol and ibuprofen, and it's crazy how brainwashed we've gotten to. We're, like I said,
I
out of
have a
touch.
game. If all of you
Heather,
will play this game with me, I have this game. If Lyme disease mimics 300 medical conditions and they can sell a drug for it, they will do that. And that is where we are in the problem with Lyme disease. Somebody's making a whole lot of money on misdiagnosis when it should have been diagnosed as a tick-borne. There's 18 infections in ticks, I recently heard. We don't even know how many more there are. So when you're watching your stupid, silly commercials, which drive you crazy, we'll do our woo so it won't bother us so much.
I love that.
I always play a game with everybody. How many commercials today did you see that could have been tick-borne disease related? 300 medical conditions in misdiagnosis. So when I go to my Congress people, I let them, they only give you 10 minutes. My city council uptown, who gives me a proclamation that I print 1,000 times a year and hand it to everyone in town because no one else will do it. You just got to know that everybody has something wrong with them now. And the over-the-counter, you just go into CVS and see how many people are up and down those aisles looking for a relief. And I want to scream, by the way. So I just hand out my brochures to everybody. Just in case you didn't know you had a tick bite, you might have this condition because you were misdiagnosed. Everyone is receptive to me. There is no one that's rude.
Jan,
So
you are a badass.
You're so adorable too, Jan.
Oh, my sweet, sweet friend. Thank you. I am not going to die or give up and go to the big party, as I call it, until we have this thing exposed. We are not going to let them get away with this. I want to make one final thing. I'm supposed to say this, but this week, the Harvard magazine, I don't know if any of you, I imagine you do, know who Alan Steer is. Alan Steer is the man at Mass General who has denied you your care. He said there's no such thing as chronic Lyme. In 1975, Polly Murray went to him and said, my whole town is sick. The kids have juvenile arthritis. They can't walk. That was in Lyme, Connecticut. And he took this whole idea and decided to open a lab. His vaccine was finally thrown out, but he has fought with everyone. He's the IDSA, which is not a government program, it's private. And he has denied us the right to get anything past 2 weeks. If you push for a month and you got a doctor that will say, all right, but that's just doxy. So what if you have, as we all do, have co-infections? The tests are no good. They know that. They have denied the tests being done until now. Virginia Tech was just given a few $1 million, 150 million of it from the Defense Department because the military is so sick with it now. His name is Brandon Jutras, and you can see his information on Bay Area Lyme. But my point about Alan Steer in this Harvard magazine is that he has come forward working with a group because he now has a cure for chronic Lyme disease. And I just am shocked. He has the cure. So anybody like me that was going to sue his butt, because all my friends, I have hundreds of very sick friends and some have died. We just cannot let this happen. And now this man, I was from the Boston area, so it was a big, big deal up there. It's a lot of Lyme disease in Massachusetts. This man has now reversed his ideal to he is coming out with a cure with 2 other people. That is the Harvard magazine last week. So we can't let these people get away with this. So Heather, I'm very grateful for your work. Thank you.
And there's a lot that we could go down this rabbit hole, and you could be very, very angry, which is actually really, really hard on the liver.
I know.
So focus on the parts that you have control over and that you can work with, and bless the rest, and know that and just continue to put one foot in front of the other, because it can get like all those beautiful documentaries. They're awesome awareness, but man, it can really leave you feeling hopeless and lost and afraid and pissed
Yeah.
off and angry, but you really, you can't live in that energy because that'll just keep you sick. That'll just keep your
For me,
liver in
for some
dysfunction.
reason, it motivates me. I do very, very good with it. I just have a spirit that will not quit because they're not going to get away with this. To let you beautiful people lose 1 minute of your life that's so valuable and to suffer, I'm just not going to live with that one. So I'm probably the only one in the group that really gets excited about my anger, but at least it's productive, you know?
Oh, absolutely. That's
Yeah.
great. It
Yeah,
has
we
the
have to.
opposite effect on me. I get to the point of like,
Sure.
what the fuck's the point? And I want to take myself
Sure.
out because I don't
Sure.
feel like
Most
I can
people.
control anything. Yeah. So that's why I'm saying, that's great that
Yes.
you can stay in that healthy,
Yeah.
more positive and use it as fuel. That's great.
I will not quit for all of you. If you ever get a bad day and you're down in the dumps and you got the virus, Jan Dooley is out there fighting for your rights. We are not going to let, and you just have to know that there's so much money now looking into this. It's just been such a,
It's been happening.
2023 is the year where everybody got millions of dollars to take a darn good look at it. So somebody cares out there about us.
Yeah, this will be my third year of doing the fly-in, Jan, and at
Oh.
the end of those days, I'm just exhausted. But I do feel the fight in me too. I've watched it take
Good.
my daughter's most of her life, and
Oh,
it's just, and
absurd.
so I'm in the same boat. But anyway, lots of progress, and sadly, the long COVID people have kind of paired up with us, right? And now
Yes,
we're
that's
kind of
it.
getting a
Yeah.
voice
That's it.
together, and so I mean, it's sad, but it's also like, wow, this is great
Awareness.
that we
Awareness is
have each
awareness.
other, yeah, to get
That's what I
better
was about
listening.
to say. I mean, this didn't really hit home to me until like most of you that have experienced it for much longer. You know, this all came for me as actually a post-vaccine thing. I
Wow.
didn't say that in the original, but I, you know, I've been a lifelong athlete and
Oh,
probably
no.
stressed my body a lot. But I was, tip top shape as far as where I was athletically. And after the vaccine, it was like night and day. So it definitely disrupted everything.
That's terrible.
So if
But
I can recommend, I am a lymphatic drainage therapist, and I've
Wow.
worked with some of the long COVID people, and that might be something that you look into because, and even my clients whose lymphatic system was really healthy after they got the vaccine or after they got the virus, it took me a good 6 months to kind of get
Wow.
people back to where
Wow.
they were. So that
Wow.
might be something that you kind of explore for yourself to see if you can get some benefit.
Definitely, that's a wonderful thing. It's the best thing I did after every vaccine. I think that I was sick for far too long, and I think the vaccines really put me into the fibromyalgia place. But I wouldn't be without the lymphatic drainage. That's why I'm so thrilled that Heather told us about the brush. But that's a good thing that you're doing, Karen. That's very helpful.
Yeah, that's good advice. Hey, Erin, if you don't mind, I'm just curious, do you have Lyme disease and then you got the long haulers, or is you primarily
it
long
was
hauler and maybe you have
it,
Lyme disease?
no, I don't know. The reality is that this has become a mystery that I've been trying to solve. I'm an engineer, so I look at everything very analytically anyway. But the only thing I can point out is that I have a low white blood cell count, and I probably had it for years, and it's never impacted me. So
Right.
Same here.
in other words, I could run marathons, I could do all this stuff. I even would never get sick when I was around family members and everybody got sick. But that's the only thing in my standard blood work that shows up as abnormal.
Is that babesia usually with the blood? Isn't that babesia? Changes your
That's what
blood.
I had, and then I had babesia, but I had low white blood cell count for at least 10 years I know of.
So it's just
And
that,
I'm very athletic.
it's just that
Yeah.
threshold. And sadly, athletes, because they're so our bodies can't tell the difference between good stress and bad stress, right? And if you're over exercising, which a lot of athletes are, you know, they're pushing themselves and their adrenals to the point where a typical, our bodies are made for when there's a tiger after us, we run. We don't just run to run. That's not kind of how the biological of the body is. And so those of us that train, and so when you get that, we've seen a lot of that with athletes, is so they've kind of already got a little bit more of a stressed out system, a heavier burdened system, right? And then they get the vaccine, and then all the shit that has been, that we've had, but our immune system's kept at bay, we've that straw that broke the camel's back, right, has been the vaccine for a lot of people. And then it's reactivated Epstein-Barr. It's reactivated, you know, Lyme disease. It's been dormant in a person's body for decades because our stress level just got to the point where it no longer could hold the gates back. Now the dam has been broken, and that we're seeing a lot of that these days. And so like when I start working with people, so along with the mindset, the dial, the life set, the other thing that I have people do is they have to stop over exercising or like heavy exertion for like 3 to 6 months, because they've got to get their nervous system and their body, their adrenals back healthy again. Because if you're still just, you know, smacking your adrenals and they're flat, right, there's nothing they can give, you're causing more stress to the body. And the whole point when we go to heal is to take as many stressful burdens off the body as we can. And so I usually tell people when they're working with me for the next 6 months, walking, light strength training, yoga, stretching, that's where you live. No marathon training, no CrossFit, no over exercising, because that's actually been causing a lot of stress to the body.
Yeah. Hey, Erin, I want to just add something. I used to be a big marathon runner. I used to do high altitude runs. So I do marathons up over high altitude, and I do have Lyme disease. So following, just piggybacking on what Heather said, I had to really take a serious look at how I exercised. Not only as part of my recovery, but I am considered in remission, but I still cannot do what I used to do. But I do exercise, like I can run 10Ks and I hike 14ers. I just can't run them. But my point is what I was going to say to Heather's point is I really got into Qigong and Yin yoga when I was at my worst.
Restorative exercise.
Yeah, it really helped my nervous system, as well as following Jan here, keeping me stretched, keeping my muscles. And I also truly believe that it helped get at that deep muscle cellular level to release what needed to be released. Wow. And so when I did go back into remission, I'm not saying I could go out and run a mile right out of the gate, but I was very impressed and surprised at how quickly my body remembered. Wow. And that I was able, you know, to run my first 5K and then run, you know, 10K. And they told me like, I can't run back-to-back days. Like I can't hike one day and run the next day. It's like all those things that Heather just said. Like I have to make sure I give my body plenty of time to recover. But I just wanted to share that with you, Erin, that those were little tricks that I used to help keep my sanity when I was at my worst. But
how did you get better? How did you get so much better? Herbs?
Yeah, I do more of I'm more on the herbal side. So all herbs, but I followed a lot of what Heather had indicated, right? It's really working, and truly have the same belief system as Heather, and that I believe that our immune systems know what to do. It's just reminding them and giving them the right support. And I will plug Karen here. I worked a lot with Karen when I was going through my kill protocols. I saw her pretty much every week, right, Karen?
Yes.
And I did the lymphatic massage. So, yeah. So, yeah,
That's
I really,
great.
yeah.
Great story.
And Erin, one thing about Lyme disease is, you know, as Heather was saying, it's very opportunistic. So you might be, you know, at the top of your health and everything, but when those life events kind of come in, the stressors, changing a job, an accident, a surgery, that's when Lyme can really bloom in your system. And then you're just knocked out so quickly, and yet you're like, well, what just happened? So
I love using, I have these 2 intake forms that I use. I haven't ran a lab. I love running, if I do run labs to find out if it's Lyme and co-infections, if someone has to see it in black or white, I'll use Vibrant Labs, the Tick.0, you know, tick-borne panel, and then the 1.0 and the 2.0. The 2.0 also shows viruses and co-infections. But I will typically use the Cellcore intake form in conjunction with Horowitz's intake form, and the two together can really help me. Is it Lyme? Is it mold? Is it more co-infections? Is it heavy metal? Is it parasites? Is it SIBO? Is it all these things, instead of throwing shit at a wall and seeing what sticks, right? Because it's amazing sometimes when someone comes to me and they think they have Lyme and really they're having more symptoms of heavy metals and mold, or, you know, vice versa. They think they're having issues with candida and it turns out it's more Lyme and co-infections. And so I've had more clinical correlation with these intake forms. You know, they're a pain in the ass, like both of them together. Well, I have my own that I put together too. So like all together, it's 600 questions. It'll take you over an hour to fill out. But then that's what I'll use to then see if we're moving the needle. So every 3 months, I'm having you refill those out. So that way we can see where you're improving and where you're not, and where we need to pivot and where we need to go. Because so I've heard this too often too, where people were like, I've been on long-term antibiotics for 2 years, or and I'm still like, I feel like shit. Or I've been on cholestyramine for 2 years and I still feel like shit. And it's like, why hasn't your practitioner, you know, pivoted with you? Because obviously it's not working, right? So longer and
Right.
more typically isn't the answer.
Mhm.
I'm just always amazed at how I'm really good. I mean, never spectacular, but I'm really functioning pretty well for 3 days. And I can go to the market and I can remember what I went to the market for. And I can get back into the car without my back going out and all these things. That would be called a good day. And then a couple days later, I'm just flat. So and I'm not ever triggering something. I know better than ever trigger anything with too much of anything. Just keep the balance. My laws for myself are order, balance, harmony. It's like 7 spiritual lessons, they say, and those are the first 3. So I try to follow all 7 to keep myself grounded. But I'm just amazed at how smart these little bugs are, that you can trot along and cut up your chicken and put everything in the fridge and feel good about things, that your counter's clean and you feel that grit. I worked at a nursing home for years, and the little old ladies, when you would toilet them, they would always wipe the sink with all their towels. You could never leave without the little women making sure that the bathroom, you know, that feeling of accomplishment. But then you crash for no reason at all. It's because the damn bugs are going to hit you in one way or another. Is there a theory that it takes a month for the infection to go through your system? So it's in your head one day and your gut the next day. Is there a theory to that? I
Yes.
remember Verascano telling us that years ago. What is that theory?
Yes, and a lot of that is that nervous system resetting. And so that you're feeling good, but your nervous system, you still haven't gotten out of fight or flight. And so it's that nervous system that's still wired, and then you end up crashing. That's what I was talking about, how I would keep relapsing. This is how I have all day energy, and that I go to all these conferences and do all these things, and I don't pay for it like I used to, because I've got the detox dialed in, and 2, I've got the nervous system stuff dialed in on a regular basis. Now, if I were to stop those things, I would go back to having that same cycle of feeling good and getting a bunch of shit done and then crashing and being in bed for 3 days. But a lot of that is that nervous system. And it's if you're living in mold, and if you do still have high bacteria and candida. So it's multiple. It's yes and. Yes and.
That's why we can never, yes, I'll be at the party. We can never plan.
No,
No,
right?
that's not true. I plan all the
Do
time.
the voodoo.
Well, I
But-
sometimes wish I hadn't. I keep my life pretty simple because it's hard. I'm the one that holds the party together if there's a group of people that have come together. And if you're having a crappy day, that effort is terrible. I'd much rather be laying down on my pulse pad. But I'm older too. You're younger and vibrant. And how long have you been sick, did you say, Heather?
Since I was 13.
Oh my God. That's tragic. It's horrible.
27 years of my life gone.
Oh. You're going to
Jan,
write
it
a
sounds
book.
like if we
What?
do the VU though, Jan, if we do the VU several times a day and the
Okay.
Well,
I'll
other
and
things
start.
that Heather taught us.
And it's a
Yeah.
perspective. It's a perspective switch. Jan doesn't have to hold the party together. That's not Jan's job,
Mm.
right? So if she actually went to a party focusing on keeping her side of the street clean and not managing the energy of everybody else, how
I don't know
different.
how not to do it. I'm the, I needed the
Exactly.
talk
I'm
show.
like,
Years ago, everyone always said, where's the talk show? Where's the talk show? Because I read 1 million books a week and I've got tons of information up here and I need to share it. So it's so darn hard. It just happens. It's just better for me to stay home with the red light. I'm getting that lately. COVID did that to us.
You're so adorable.
Oh my
Gosh,
God,
what
are
an
you precious?
inspiration.
Oh, what good friends I've met here today. I'm so glad. I don't think I've been here for a while. So I'm so glad that I did to meet you all. And this
Yes.
Heather Gray, how
Same.
long have you been out here treating people like this? So I've got to join you. How do I join you? Is it a podcast or just put your name in, or how do I get you?
the best way is to go to my website, and then there'll be a little pop-up, and I've got a free giveaway of a video cooking series, right? Because
Okay.
again, I have found that if you have the best diet, if the best treatment in the world, the best supplements in the world, but if you go and you eat McDonald's, right, you're
Oh,
inflaming
Mhm.
your gut and you're inflaming your brain and you're undoing all the good. So I made,
yeah.
and it's sad because so many people don't know how to cook. And if they
Oh,
do know
Yeah.
how to cook, they're using shit with nonstick pans, and they're cooking with confinement beef and GMOs. And so I'm teaching, because the kitchen is a huge source of toxins. So not only am I teaching
Mm.
you how to cook, but I'm teaching you why and what products to use that are less toxic and actually better for you. So that little pop-up, you put your email in there, and then you'll get subscribed to my email list, and that you'll get subscribed when
okay.
the podcast comes out and all that
All right.
information. But there's so much free information on my website that's a great place to start.
I'd like to say something about the eating thing. This guy that I just went to from the Atlanta Falcons, his name is Dr. William Beckworth. He said, and he gave me this piece of paper of big instructions, Forks Over Knives. Is that the documentary that I'm supposed to see? He said, no oil, no olive oil, no meat, and no chicken. So is that what you recommend? Because I don't eat meat, but I'm not giving up my chicken.
Absolutely not.
Thank
It has
you.
been disproven so many times. No, our bodies and our
Thank
cells
you.
need good, healthy oil, healthy fat. Don't cook with olive oil. Olive oil does not have a high flash point, and you can turn it into trans fat. If you cook with olive oil, it should be mixed with butter, because then it makes it more of a stable oil. But no, and so I'm more of a fan of cooking with animal fats. But no, our brains, our cells, our lipid layers, we need those healthy fats. And
Thank you.
everybody's different.
You need
Everybody's
protein.
different. Yeah.
Yeah.
Protein is huge.
Everybody's different though. But there's a lot of validity behind like the blood type diet, because we are so individuals that some people do better on a more vegetable based diet. I mean, we've got the blue zone people, who are
Yeah.
living to their
Mhm.
hundreds, and it's
Yeah.
more of a plant-based diet, little meat. But then there's other people who swear by carnivore. Why is that? Because we're all so bio-individual, and you
Yeah.
really got to find what works for you. And
Okay.
but
I
yeah.
I also think it has a lot to do with how you manage. Like if you're an athlete, you see a lot of things on it at a different level because your body is so demanding.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So you really look at things and day to day, like, oh no, today I just felt off. And
Mm.
when you feel good, when you don't, really quickly. And this was when I was feeling good. But I did, I've done a lot of reflection on diet. I was pretty much that vegan vegetarian, you know, I ate meat, but I didn't eat it regularly. Um, and I ate organic. I was pretty good about the stuff that I bought and consumed. But you start looking at it, it's like most people don't buy quality vegetables, really. I mean, you just can't. It's all factory farmed unless you're getting farmers market food, grown in good soil, has really good taste and nutrient value to it. you start to really
Mhm.
recognize, man, I've been feeding myself pretty much nothing for years,
Mhm.
except for
And what I mean, like, how
cellular.
brilliant is our body? I have got
Mhm.
friends who have literally smoked 2 packs of cigarettes a day, drinking a 6-pack a night, and eating McDonald's, and they're still alive. There's no nutritional value in what they're taking in. Like,
Yeah,
how brilliant is the body? It's crazy.
Right.
it is.
That's true.
It'll
Well,
catch up.
yes, well, everybody,
Yes, it
we are at time. Heather's website is in chat. Heather, thank you so much for being here today.
Absolutely.
And thank you
Yeah.
all for joining us and for such a
Thank you,
great,
Heather.
great conversation. I just as just a quick announcement, Gary did ask about this. This is being recorded. I'll get it buffed and up to YouTube, so you'll get a copy of this in the next day or two. So just give me a couple days to get it out there. Anybody who RSVP'd for Meetup will get it. So if you RSVP'd, you're here because you did. I'll post it. You'll get it. You'll get the notification just like you did for this meeting. All right. But again, thank you, everybody. Heather, once again, thank you. And just thank you all for such a great conversation.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Heather, for sharing all your wisdom and all
Absolutely.
you're doing. Thank you so much.
Have a
Keep
healthy
your
day
joy,
and never
people.
give up. Never give up.
Yes, never give up
Right.
and keep your
Right.
joy.
Okay.
That's
Thank
I
you.
will.
so
Thank
lovely
you.
to meet you all. Thank you.
Bye-bye.